Shwmae Ffrindiau. I'm building a mute swan habitat inspired by a park and lake in the capital of Wales, Cardiff, called Roath Park. And I'm going to be doing it in the Oceania Zoo. And originally this huge water space was just meant to be for the little penguins, but I've split it in half and I'm going to do half for the mute swans and half for the penguins. So I'm going to start with terraforming because I wanted some more flat areas, like shallower water rather than just all deep water, because the swans don't swim under the water. So I wanted to give them more like paddling space. It's nothing to do with like Roath Park Lake or anything. It's roughly like a circle. It's not anything fancy. It's just a pretty place to walk, especially like in a city. And it was quite close to where I went to university as well, which is interesting. It's always a nice place to like go and see ducks and swans and things. That's why I automatically went for something similar to that. My Shih Tzu, Taffy, absolutely loves ducks, swans and geese. She's watched them through fences. She's just stood there staring at them. I have a picture, actually. They're basically just both looking at each other. It's so cute. Really shocked that she was that well behaved with it. But like, it didn't hiss at her, nothing. And as we know from one of the fun facts, swans can hold grudges. So I was waiting for this swan to be like, ah, hell no. And I thought I would try and get some good genetic swans for my habitat. So I was looking for silver and gold swans. I wasn't necessarily looking for any of the shiny versions because the swan's shiny version isn't the most exciting. I kind of feel bad, but it's not. It kind of looks exactly the same other than its feet. In the Leucistic morph are pink. That's the only difference. But I accidentally found one anyway, so yeah, we got a Leucistic Swan for our Roath Park habitat. In English, the typical coloration of a mute swan is referred to as the royal swan, while the leucistic morph is known as the Polish swan. You can know when you buy one because it'll say either white with black feet or leucistic pink feet. The most recognizable feature of Roath Park is the lighthouse. In 1915, a lighthouse was constructed in the lake containing a scale model of the Terra Nova ship to commemorate Captain Scott's ill-fated voyage to the Antarctic from Cardiff in 1910. I had no idea that was a memorial. I just knew it was a memorable feature of Roath Park. So I'm using the circle trick to create the lighthouse. I do have a short tutorial on it. I've used it a lot for a lot of things. This sort of technique with it angled inwards reminded me of when I built the rocket for my Mars inspired diorama. So Roath Park is just a nice place to go for like a nature walk sort of thing. You can walk around the lake. It's also got quite a large park if you want to take a family sort of thing. It's got a nice large park, but it's just nice to walk around, especially on a nice day, obviously. It's got like this big clock on the top of it, which I thought was interesting. Normally you have like lights, don't you? But this one's got a big clock. No one in 2024 really needs a clock when you can just like pick up a device. It's cool that we have clocks in game though, that I could just pop onto the building. Because I've got custom time on and I changed the time manually, the clock doesn't match that time, but if you have it on the auto timer, you know, when it does the day-night cycle, the clocks in-game will match the time shown on the UI, which I always found interesting. I love that. To make smaller windows for the lighthouse, I merged the windows into the walls a little bit, because this window in particular has like a window slightly further out than the other, so by angling it slightly I've merged one of the two little rectangular windows into the wall to just show the one window to make it look smaller. And it's just easier as well to kind of use these sorts of windows instead of trying to cut out that space, especially with like how complicated the shape is, it being round. It's just easier to use the game windows. But I did want to cut out a little space for the door, The door is probably like the brightest colour that I'm going to use in this whole build, and I created the doorway by duplicating the pillars to have like a shorter pillar instead and deleting the longer one, and merging the door into that like gap that I've created by carving the pillars, and just kind of merging the door into the space to make it look like it was in the building a little further, and then hiding the gaps by creating a little staircase up into the door. The lighthouse is on this like cute little island. That's why I have this circle, because I wanted that as like a frame for how many rocks I wanted to put around it. But I didn't want to place all the random rocks down, so I grabbed the rocks that I'd already placed down. These are my rocks. These collection of rocks are technically from a unicorn habitat. Scimitar Horned Oryx. I'll get there in the end. It was a unicorn habitat. It was like a mystical forest, and those collections of rocks were underneath a little waterfall. I just duplicated the rocks and moved them around to create this little island instead. So that's the little lighthouse done. I was so happy with that. Added a few dried plants in amongst the rocks as well, because that's kind of what it looks like in Roath Park, and it also gives a little bit more life and realism to the rock clusters. One of the most fun things in Roath Park is the Swan Paddle Boats. Mute Swan Habitat, Swan Paddle Boats. It had to be done. It had to be done. So to get the right sizing for the paddle boat, I wanted to use an in-game boat, so it wasn't absolutely huge or too small, probably like too big. Mainly Planet Zoo, it's like hard to make things tiny. There's not a lot of like super small objects, and I'm mainly using the art shapes to give like that shiny plastic look, using the gondola as a reference, like size reference for the seats and the size of the boats. I'm not going to make them as long, obviously. These are from the Eurasia pack, but I will actually be deleting the gondola in the end. The majority of the boat is going to be white, but I wanted to have the bottom of the boat be black to match their feet, and I'm going to do like 1 or 2 paddle boats with the bottom being pink to match the leucistic variant of the Mute Swan. And to find objects that will match the same sort of texture as the paddle boat, I was using the filters to find plastic items, and I'm actually using guttering as like the armrests between the 2 seats. And they're very simple seats, but looking at the like real life paddle boats, they're not exactly like sculpted soft cushioned seats. They are just plastic, molded plastic seats. They're not meant to be super comfortable, I don't think. Just a like little fun thing to go around the lake. I did actually want it to be a swan paddle boat. That sign, just chucking that sign there, I was like, done. This is an easy build. No, not at all. That's just going to be my reference, or the start of my reference. To get the shapes, I knew an S shape would be really helpful as like a reference shape for the swan's neck. So I went on to like the 3D art shapes. I never use these. My next reference from the swan sign was an S. Done! Does that look great? An S, a cone, a flat circle, and a full stop for the eye. Isn't it cute? And I don't know what this one's called, but it's like a 3D oval. Flat on the top and the bottom, but curved to give like a swan neck shape. And I'm using the S as a reference shape and duplicating the shapes, but I've got it on angle snap on the lower setting, the 15 degrees one, just to slowly duplicate those shapes in a curved S shape like the swan's neck. Doing it like this as well doesn't limit me to the exact shape of the S as well, so I kind of liked that shape, and I wanted the swan to kind of be looking slightly downwards, and I ended it on the more like ball shaped one to give it like a head. The beak I use like curved shapes as well. I will replace those because it's giving duck at the moment. There's a duck toilet cleaner. that's got like that shape where you can duck clean the toilet. And that's what I saw. So I was like, it's giving duck, but not like actual duck. It's giving duck toilet cleaner. Just looking at the reference pictures of Swan Paddle Boats, the actual swans in game, and the swan sign that I've got there. I didn't move that for a while, it's just in the middle of it. The swans have got like a black line around their beak, but it sort of points towards their eyes in like a V up their face. So I didn't mind having slight bits sticking out on certain angles. I don't know why, but I built this mainly on the shadowed side of the build, not the lit side, so I'm sorry about that. I don't know why I built from this angle instead of the other angle, probably because this side was facing towards this habitat and the other side was facing towards the penguin, so I didn't think it was quite right for that. And this full stop had like a more beak-like curve than the first shape I used, and it gives more of a curve outwards. You can see, it's fine. I love talking with my hands anyway. I have black and plum nails, which you really can't see the difference of much on camera, but my middle finger is a dark purple and the rest are black. But now I'm white with a black accent, just like the swans, but this is an off-white too, like off-white beige, and I used a larger half oval dome shape for the body then of the swan, and that sort of gave it a split in between the two seats to give it a little bit more of a swan shape. I wanted to give this paddle boat wings. Some swan paddle boats don't have the wings along the side of them, they're flat with just the head, and some have wings along the side of the chairs. I wanted to give them wings, and I thought the best object to give them wings would be the surfboards from the Eurasia pack, because I thought these would be the perfect shape for the swan's wings, and I couldn't quite get them to be a plain white, but I thought this pattern, I can't remember which number surfboard it was now, I thought this pattern was perfect for like a feather, so it's not going to be a flat paddle boat. I did want an edge to it so you can just walk off and on. I'm using the painted wood from the East Asia style, because these are kind of plasticky looking as well. I didn't have like a nice curved shape to fit that front area from the art shape, so I'm using the East Asia style. And when I was lining up all of the edges, I do give a little lip where guests, you can imagine guests could step into the paddle boat. And it is a paddle boat, and to make it a paddle boat you need paddles. Well, pedals? Paddle boat? Paddle boat? Have I been saying it wrong the whole time? Pedal boat. Swan Peddle Boat, right? No paddle boat. Oh, can I get away with that from my accent? To make it a pedal boat anyway, instead of a paddle boat, let's say that. I did actually want to give the boat pedals, and the only way I could think of doing that is using the bike. I think it's from the classic style, but you can search the word bicycle and it'll pop up. I flipped the boat upside down, so the pedals sort of attached from the wheel onto the seat, and you can see the little paddles then. So this is actually a pedal boat because you can actually see the pedals. I thought that was a fun little detail to put into the boat. And the seat of the bike is now at the bottom, so it looks kind of like a propeller. There's a new multi-select feature. Matching colour multi-select is an absolute game changer when you're building. So I wanted to select all of the black pieces on the bottom of this boat to change the colour of the bottom of the boat to pink. So I opened multi-select, clicked on the colour select tool, clicked on the black, piece, and all of the black pieces were selected and none of the other colours were. I thought it would just select the flexi colour pieces, but it did not. So I could then quickly change just the black pieces in that entire group to pink. But the swans did need a little bit of hard shelter, so I thought I would create like a little covered dock area. Where I've given the little gap, I wanted to put the gap near where the dock is to kind of show that you can step into the pedal boat, swan boat. Wanted it kind of simple. There's a building kind of similar to this in Roath Park, which is a cafe. So like the roof is kind of similar, but I just wanted this to be very simple, just a covered dock area where you can park the swan boats. I did put the foraging pool in the shallow area and the beaver pool. I recolored the rocks on the beaver pool and then used some of the tropical rocks underneath to stop it looking like it's floating in the water. And just to fill in the grassy area on the one side, which kind of matches in with Roath Park because Roath Park has this like nice little fence, some grass, and then the pond. Just filled in the grassy area with some plants like grasses, flowers, just to fill in that area so it wasn't completely plain. And the swans like quite a lot of coverage, but they don't like a lot of plants, so I needed to compromise when it came to plant placement. They were either the right biome or the right continent. They weren't both because the swans didn't like a lot. Got a little bit of pop of purple in there. It is my favourite colour, so I can't help but add a few purple plants and like pink plants in in a habitat. But that is it. Let me know what you think about this habitat in the comments, and leave me some suggestions of what habitat animals I should build a habitat for, or any kinds of styles or what types of habitats you'd like me to build, because it is my mum's birthday, so I'd like to spend a little bit more time with family because it's my mum's birthday and Mother's Day for the UK in the same week. Get my diary out just to check. So yeah, because it's like a special week for my family, I'd like to take a little bit of time to spend with family with that. If you enjoyed this video, smash that like button, and if you haven't already and you would like to, it would mean a lot to me if you could subscribe and hit the bell to be notified whenever I upload a new video. I upload long forms on Wednesdays and short forms on Sundays. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you next time. Goodbye!